welcome back to Intake. So I just want to correct something that I said earlier. And that is when I was saying that you have to talk about the negative voice. What I meant to say is that you have to talk to the negative voice. That means that you have to talk in a way that is positive so that you can then start to rewire the brain on the more positive rather than staying into the negative. And often we call that reframing or restructuring. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, as you can see, I have a guest with me. This is Tamika Lee, aka Tammy Lee, who's also my daughter and the producer and editor of the show. Tamika, tell us something about yourself.
My mom said it best. I'm Tamika Lee, aka Tammy Lee. I've been going by Tammy Lee since I started film school. That's what people know me by. I'm a content creator. I'm a screenplay writer, and I like to make short films. I've done music videos, ads, worked with museums on projects. Yeah, I'm just a content creator and just overall a creative person. And I'm also the producer and editor of Intake Talk Show.
So I want to say she is just more than just a content creator. She is an absolute great writer. She is a great director. She is a great filmmaker. And I'm not just saying that because I'm her mom. As you can see, if you all have watched the previous episodes of Intake when we first started, Tammy was behind all of that. But she also has her content in various places. One of those is on Tubi with Chad, me and Mrs. Jones. She has her own thing, so she's kind of modest, but she's a great individual in the creative, side of things.
It's better to let people say that you're great than to say that you're great. So I just let everybody just watch the content and judge for themselves.
Well, since we're on the topic of what are you intaking, I just want to make sure that she intakes the positivity from me and knowing how great she is, okay?
I always appreciate
as an independent filmmaker as well. Tammy, let's talk a little bit about the show. We've talked about, how important it is when we intake, certain information and how it structures or rewires the brain, right? So, let's talk about when we first initiated the show. Yeah, let's give them some background on when we first initiated the show. Okay?
What do you remember?
So I remember coming from a class on my way to a youth crisis that I worked at the time in Jacksonville, Florida. And I called you all excited and said, hey, I want to start a mental health talk show. What do you think? And you said, oh, I think that's good. Okay, so what are you going to call it? And you asked me to start giving you some content. And you said, you have to create a synopsis. And I'm like, what the heck is a synopsis? So you said, okay, Mom, so listen, I want you to get your ideas together, create a synopsis, and come up with a name. But I want it to be a simple name. It doesn't need to be something long. It needs to be short and catchy. And I said, okay, I'm going to get back with you. And I thought about it, and I remembered, one of the reasons that led me into mental health is because of this idea of information that we take in. And I'd already identified how the things are experienced, all of these everyday life issues can affect our psyche. And so I went into work and I started to think about it. And I came up with the name Intake. And so I called her back and I said, hey, I got this. Intake. And she was like, okay, I like that. Because it's simple. And this is what she really said to me. It's simple, like The View, right?
That is something I would say.
Yeah. So I said, okay. And then she started instructing me on some things I needed to do. Initially, when I started, she was like, Mom, you can do this by yourself. And I said, yeah, I know, but I really want some co-hosts, right, so that I can interact with people in the show. And she's like, okay, but, we got to interview them and see it. Then we interviewed.
Yeah, Shauna and Jules.
Yeah, Shauna and Jules. I want to give them their props right now. Two absolute marvelous women. Thank you. We decided to use them as the co-host of the show.
We appreciate you ladies if y'all are watching. It definitely taught us a lot, just having you guys on the set, like what it would look like having co-hosts. But yeah, we appreciate your contribution to the show for sure.
Yeah. And they did an absolutely great job, right? Sure. I will forever be grateful to them for helping me launch this idea that I had, okay? And all the other people that helped, because there's a long story behind this, because we were blessed, really, because so many people helped, and thank God for Tammy, because Tammy started talking to her people, and before I knew it, we had a whole crew, whole setup of lights, and we didn't wait for things to get perfect. I just said, okay, let's do it in our living room, in my
Yeah.
living room, and that's how we started.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what I remember. You did call me and you were like, I want to start this show, and you were telling me like what you wanted to do, but I was telling you to make a synopsis because I just wanted a clear, in writing example of what exactly you saw in your head for this show. So I just wanted you to write out, like, I told you a synopsis, but it probably is called like something else. I just wanted to see you write down like what were you focusing on when it comes to mental health, how you saw the show. So she did that. She told me this snazzy name, Intake. I didn't know what Intake was. I didn't even know what it meant. But I was like, you know what? I like it. I'll Google it later. She's a mental health counselor. I would trust her on this. Whatever Intake means, I'm sure it has to do with mental health. And sure enough, I Googled it, looked it up. I created the logo back here for it in Photoshop back in my digital juice days. I made the banner. I want to give a shout out to tvjax.com, aka Mimi TV. I learned a lot after graduating college and working with them. I also did a late night talk show with Jim Alabiso. It was a station for the Jacksonville, Florida market. So we did this late night talk show, and Sam Farmer was a producer on there, and I learned about different types of sheets and stuff like that. And I used some of those sheets to structure Intake Talk Show just to make sure we stay on course, we stay within the minutes of like an actual talk show. And yeah, I just learned so much from being at Mimi TV, working with Catherine and Chad and just all the people there, Sozo, and all the things that I learned from college and in school, I just applied it to Intake Talk Show. My mom had this really cool idea, and I was going to say yes to her because obviously it's my mom. I want her to do great things and make content. But I thought to myself, it would be great for my reel because like I said earlier, I had done the short films. I had shot a couple pilots for TV show concepts that I wanted to do, advertisements for people, but I had never done like an actual talk show on my own. And my partner and I had a production company called Wonderline Media. And we did it under that. We got our cameras together. And then we know a gentleman named Tom Seidel. Shout out to Tom. Tom's a fantastic actor in Jacksonville, like one of my favorite actors actually out there. I've seen a lot of his work and he's dope. But he's also a lighting grip guy. We met with him. We had like this meeting. He loved the idea of like having a mental health talk show. And he brought his entire lighting truck, hooked us up, lit us. If you guys go back on YouTube and see season 1, the lighting is all Tom. Like we were going to set up our little LED lights, and we just didn't have what Tom had. And everything that he had, it just made the show like more beautiful. It was lit really well. It looked beautiful. The ladies looked beautiful. And Tom came and helped. Chad Hendricks is my homie. He came, we interviewed him, we interviewed Tom. They gave us some really interesting perspectives on like their situations in life. And they contributed to the look and extra camera for the shows because we were in between like 3 and 4 cameras. So without the experience, granted I graduated with a BFA in digital film and then I started working at tvjax.com. But had I not had those 2 experiences, I don't think Intake would have been what it turned out to be because I just learned so much working for a local TV station in town and just being a student and not knowing anything. So what I really did was I just applied everything that I knew to Intake, and what you see is what I've learned as just like a content creator from creating long form content. So
yeah, and I'm appreciative of it. That's what I mean about being careful about who you surround yourself with. While she is my daughter, right? And we have our own story around trauma. But it was important to me to always, based on what was somewhat my picture of growing and this background of trauma, it was important to me to always speak a certain way in their lives. And because I did that, my daughter in return, specifically on my own days when I had my down moments, both of my daughters, they're able to return that to me. And when I had this idea of Intake, she was more than willing to help. Even my youngest daughter, who's a physician, and she was on one of the episodes as well, they were more than willing to help. So you have to surround yourself around positive people. While I have a very tiny, tiny circle, that tiny circle is filled with people who pour back into me the way that I pour into them.
And ain't nothing wrong with a tiny circle.
Exactly.
Sometimes you don't need a whole bunch of people around you.
And that is only because I too used to be one of those people that was struggling in my own cognitive state about possibly having a sign on me about let's just jab at Bertha, let's just do her wrong. I had to realize that it wasn't so much me, it was this thing that I had created in my mind, or my mind had created, around this norm. Let me tell you something. The biggest lie I've ever heard in my life is if everybody is saying it, it must be true. That is absolutely the biggest lie I've ever heard. Because the truth is, everybody is not saying it. It's just that circle of people that you keep in your space that's saying it. And if that circle is constantly saying it, then maybe you need to find another circle.
You're around haters. You're around haters. Them people don't like you. They're not all saying it. They just don't like you. Find your tribe. Find people that like you.
Well, technically, from a mental health standpoint, can't we just be real?
Okay, sure. I mean, but that's just a Tammy Lee. You know, that helps my mental health. Like, just get around, just stay away from people that don't rock with you.
But technically, from a mental health standpoint, sometimes it's those people in that circle that are also struggling just like you are.
Yes.
They have their trauma. They don't know any other thing than negativity. They see themselves as negative, so they treat you negative. They have their own insecurities, so they become jealous of you, even if you make a small move, okay? And then because they're jealous of you, their insecurity starts to show, and then they start, jabbing at you of sorts, okay? And then when you allow that to keep happening, it's like all of you people around each other just gravitating to each other because that's what you're used to. So it is important that you be okay with opening yourself up, is all I'm saying. You don't have to leave all your people. I'm not saying that, okay? I'm just saying it's okay to open.
Don't be like Tammy Lee.
It's okay to open yourself up to new people, to more positive people, to people that can pour into you the same way you pour into other people, right? And it is most important, however, that you learn how to dig deep into yourself and start to now identify these norms that are not always beneficial to you so that you can start working on it. And that's what therapists are for. I'm going to be honest with you. Therapists are great at that. And so you want to be able to do that. Now let's get back to intake, okay? So the question that was posed to me the whole time that we put a pause on the show, right? I would go on social media before we changed from intaketalkshow.com. We had intake.tv, right? And I was getting these emails around, when will you be bringing intake back? What happened? And the idea is that when COVID happened, everything had to come to a pause. Like, we were moving well with the show, dropping the episodes.
Even when COVID appeared, you were indoors, you had your camera, you had your laptop hooked up to your computer, you were virtually interviewing people, you were doing your thing.
Right. And just at the point where we were getting ready to do a community outreach, you remember that?
Yeah.
We were getting ready to do a community outreach.
We were going to do it at this local vegetarian restaurant in Jacksonville. I can't remember what the name of the restaurant was, but they had the best green banana fries, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
We were going to have a community mental health thing. I remember standing outside of the restaurant, and we must have did like 10 takes of my mom trying to talk about this mental health thing. We were just making an ad for the event. I had a bunch of people that said they were going to come from that community, and we were really excited about it, but the world shut down.
Yeah.
They kept us indoors. And I was also filming a documentary on American Beach, like one of the first black beaches in America. It was somewhere in Florida, like near Jacksonville. A young lady reached out to us to make this documentary, and we had more footage that we were supposed to get for her, but COVID just shut everything down, include intake and like other things that I wanted to do. So COVID was the main thing that slowed us down. And then Mom, aka Miss Barrett, she got COVID.
So in COVID, we were still trying to function. At least I was still trying to function. This is why I created Bertha's Corner, because my idea was always to continue the show and have co-hosts. Although my daughter again said, "Mom, you can do this by yourself," but I really wanted those co-hosts to just interact with. So I started on Bertha's Corner just to keep things going, and then I got COVID. And for any medical people who are watching this, COVID had affected over 70% of my lungs. So you know the degree to that. Most people don't survive from something like that. And so I was in the hospital for quite a bit of while, no visitors whatsoever. And I was
out of the country.
Yeah, she was out of the country in Jamaica. And my youngest daughter was here where we now live in Georgia. And I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and couldn't have any visitors. So I'm in this room, And I'd already seen prior to going to the hospital that people were dying. Beds were still on the streets of New York and all of that. So when I got into the hospital, nobody told me that, you know, the doctors wouldn't say to me that, hey, we don't think you're going to make it. I couldn't stand without falling out. So I had to always be in the bed. Somebody had to help me go to the bathroom, clean me up. I had all of this oxygen on. But the one thing I remembered is how important it was that I kept my psyche right. So I would not turn on the news. I refused to turn on the news. I didn't want anybody calling me with negativity going, oh my gosh, just didn't want it. And thank God I have a family, well, some family that understood that, because I had told them, don't tell a whole bunch of people, because I'm very careful about who I allow to know about what it is that I'm experiencing, because I didn't want that negative feedback coming to me.
Your immediate family knew what to do.
Right,
Yeah.
my immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this beautiful sister, her name is Effie, who always called in and made sure I was okay. Then my brother, of course, John, they always checked in on me. So this was a time when I just couldn't do anything. And even after I got out of the hospital, I was still on oxygen for like 2.5 years.
You were on oxygen for a while.
For a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't even come back and do the show unless I was going to have this oxygen thing in my nose, and I could barely talk without giving out a breath.
You did a segment though with the oxygen on.
I did.
I'm proud
I
of you
did.
for that.
I did.
You tried, you know, but it's a talk show. You got to talk, and if you having a hard time with your breathing, it's difficult to keep something like this going when you're on oxygen and you just got over COVID. So the important thing was Mom just needed to heal, and you know the show could have always picked up, but healing was more important. You know, we just had to make sure that she was good. But COVID was the reason why we had to pause. And I mean, like, come on, the whole world was affected by COVID. Like, you remember exactly where you were when the world just went on pause.
We stopped the show, but always had the idea of returning. I just didn't know when I could return. And thankfully, just this year, like a couple of weeks ago, my doctor said, you know what, you're looking good. And I came back to Tammy and I said, hey, I want to start the show again. And while I could have started it again in my living room, same furniture, right? I thought, no, I don't want to do this in my living room because it's a lot of work. And we didn't have all the lights and things that we had before.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, because the people are still in Jacksonville, we here in Georgia.
I'm new out here. Like, I'm still learning the lay of the land. I'm still networking with people. I've met some great, talented people, but we want to bring intake back the way it was, but we just got to let the budget catch up to us. I definitely know the people, but they need to be paid. And yeah, we definitely haven't given up on the original format of the show, how it looked. But the information is still important. Mental health is still important, and it's having a good go right now. So it's just good that we have a podcast. As long as people get the information and, you know, they're being informed about things that they should be conscious of when it comes to their mental health. And that's what's important. The information is. And we're still going to make the show look fun and good. It's just a little different.
Yeah. So when we started, I said to Tammy, after all of my anxiousness around where would I do the show at, I thought, after looking at my office, you know, my office would be great. So that's where I'm at. Normally I do my sessions on that side is where my desk's at. And then I just put a desk right here in front of my desk and said, okay, we can do the podcast right here. And here we are. But I'm grateful to be back. And I'm grateful for the idea of intake and where it can go. And I want to encourage anybody, absolutely anybody who is watching this, regardless of what happens in your life, it is never too late to start your goal, a dream that you have. Listen, I was unsure. My daughter just told me like 2 years ago that they didn't think I was going to live. I had no idea.
We would have never said that to you though.
No, you wouldn't have.
Because it's I mean, like I said, your immediate family knew what to do. And you have 2 daughters that you raised to always be positive. That's always something that both of my parents always said, like, words have power. You know, and what you speak is, you know, what will exist. So even though we knew that she was really sick, we just always knew that she was going to come out fine, and we weren't going to say anything negative to put in her spirit or her mind that she wasn't going to. So my sister's a doctor. She knew what to do. I knew what to do. And we just, you know, we were just there for our mom, and we knew she was going to pull through.
So we're great that intake, and we're happy that intake is back, and we hope that you all would support. I want to encourage anybody who's watching this episode to just remember that you are not what you have experienced. okay? You are not what you have experienced. And anything that you are going through now, it can change and improve. Our brain is plastic, clay-like, moldable. And while all of us have been conditioned, while each of us have some learned behavior, we can rewire our brain. But that requires consistency and time. This is exactly what this show is about. I'm going to be honest with you because I am one of those transparent therapists, although I don't tell all of my business, that when I thought about restarting the show, even I was a little anxious because I'm like, man, it's been almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And some of our followers stop following, and we get caught up on numbers, right? But I was just like, you know what? No, I'm going to start the show because who's going to watch will watch. This needs to be said because intake, the basis of intake is about saying and talking about things that are seen as taboo by many people, but we're willing to discuss these things because they have to be discussed based on how these things affect our overall wellness. And so this is what intake is about. Tammy, share with them what you shared with me over the break about these numbers and how we watch them.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't matter, guys. Listen, let's say you have a YouTube page and you only have 100 followers and you're like, well, who's going to watch? I only have 100 followers. I don't have 1 million. If you put 100 of your subscribers in a room, like make them physical bodies, and you have to talk to them, you're talking to 100 people. That's a lot of people. Let's say you even have 45 subscribers on YouTube. That's 45 people you could put in a room to hear what you have to say. Like, don't be so caught up in the numbers. You haven't reached 1 million yet. You haven't even reached 5,000. But 100 followers is okay. 200 followers is okay. Even 15 people in a small room you could talk to. You know, them 15 can turn into 60 if you keep doing your thing. It's consistency. Just keep making the content. Right now we have, 200 and something subscribers on intake. Mm-hmm. We keep doing this. Those 200 people are just going to tell more people, or we're just going to run an ad on Facebook and just attract more people. The people will come. We just need to make the content and make the message good, keep it real, and our people will come. We'll eventually get to 1 million, but don't let the subscriber numbers stop you because let's say you only have 50 followers. If you could put all them followers and subscribers, that's 50 people that's going to listen to what you have to say. And out of those, let's say they all don't listen. If 10 of them just get a message out of what you're saying, you've done your job, but don't be so caught up in the numbers. 200 is a lot of people. Yeah, it really is.
It is.
We got a good amount, and all we got to do is keep making content, keep going, and that number is just going to grow and grow until we get to 1 million. And then we really got to keep it going, Yeah. Right now, don't focus even on your social media pages. If you only have 800 followers on IG, that's 800 people that have said, you know what, I'm going to follow this person on social media. And if you invited them all to hear you speak and they all came, that's 800 people in a building just coming to see you. That's impressive. That's very impressive. So don't worry about the numbers. Like right now, content is king. And if you want to make content, no matter what it is, you can find your audience, And mental health, like I told my mom during the break, mental health is having a great run. People are more focused about it, especially the Black community, which I'm so proud of. Yeah, the show is going to find its tribe, but we just have to keep putting the content and the information out there.
I love that. It's not so much about the numbers, really. This is how I see it. It's about the impact.
Yeah.
Who do you touch? If you only touch 10 people, that's powerful.
10 people is a lot of people.
Yeah, that's powerful. And that's what you want to remember. Okay? So I hope you've gained something from this relaunch. I am again excited about it. I'm excited about the people that we have lined up for the show, different things that we're going to talk about. I hope that you will continue to follow, watch the show, subscribe, share, listen to us on the podcast, because now we have a podcast as well.
Now you can listen, not just watch. If you can't, you jogging, you don't want to watch a video, if you just want to hit play on Spotify, we got you.
Yeah.
It will be there. Listen, my mom's a professional, and she's very sweet. She's going to keep it professional, but this is Tammy Lee here, the producer. Watch my mama show, y'all. She's wonderful. She can give you some great insight. She can make you feel good. She gonna have you ask you some questions about yourself, and that's what you need to do. Make your mental health a priority and watch the show.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Watch my mama show.
Okay, you all. So we're at the end of the show. Listen, I want you all to remember, though, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are a whole person. You are a beautifully made whole person. You are not your experience. You are not broken. You are worthy of everything that you desire in life, and you can do it, okay? Perhaps one day I'll get up the nerve to tell you all about my traumatic past, okay? To help you understand that, listen, nothing can stop you. No one can stop you but you. It's about what you feed into your psyche and who you allow in your space to also feed into your psyche. That is key. So be careful about what you are intaking. Be careful about who you are allowing in your space to feed into you, the person that you want to be. Okay, that is significant. So we're just going to end this show, but this is one thing I'm going to always encourage you to do, to remember to talk about mental health and how to make yours a priority.
She's a warrior. Watch my mama show. Bye, y'all.